Hey folks, welcome to Pol Ke Bol. Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, wherever you are. I'm Saurabh Pol, and today I'm going to talk about Australia's social media ban for children below the age of 16. So essentially what they're saying is, hey, if you're below the age of 16, you just cannot be on social media, and it is the job of social media companies like Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, even Twitter for that matter, X now, to ensure that anyone who's below the age of 16, legally speaking, should not be on their platforms. And the stick in this case is that if these children are found on social media websites, these social media companies will be fined somewhere to the tune of $30 million or something. Now, $30 million per violation, $30 million in total, nobody knows, right? And there are also doubts that whether these laws and this new regulation that is coming in Australia, I think by Prime Minister Albanese, I believe, and what many people are saying, it's an invasion of privacy. It cannot be, it cannot be implemented. People will just skirt over the regulations. And also there is another school of thought which genuinely says that, hey, you know what, this is well past due. Social media ban should have happened long back, especially on kids, because let's be frank, right? Social media is a mixed bag, and people are like, boss, while it is a good thing overall, it's a net positive, one could say, but what is really important is to ensure that the side effects or the bad effects of social media are really curtailed, right? And now here's the Pol Ke Bol on this. See, I genuinely believe that social media has changed the world for better and for worse. Mark Benioff has once said, Mark Benioff is the founder of Salesforce. Many of you must be using their software. If not, you're using a company that uses its software. So Mark Benioff once said, Facebook is the new cigarettes. What he meant was, in the 1960s, and in the 1960s and 70s, tobacco companies in the US were denying that their products cause cancer, right? And a host of other health issues. And anyone and everyone used to smoke. In fact, some doctors used to recommend smoking according to some famous advertisements. And smoking was considered a very normal thing. Now, I don't know how many of you know this, but smoking was allowed on airplanes. Yes, people would smoke during breakfast, people would smoke in offices, people would smoke on the bus, in the trains, railway stations. Even today, many of them do that, by the way, and not just in India, mind you, in places like Switzerland. And back then, it was just considered completely normal. There was no concept of passive smoking, none at all, right? Up until the 90s, tobacco companies were sponsoring the world's fastest car drivers in F1, right? Now, what Mark Benioff also meant by that is that it was truly a bad thing that was masquerading around as a normal thing, and society had accepted it. And the manufacturers of these products were trying their level best to ensure that no research comes out, and no bad press comes out which might affect their sales. As simple as that. He has accused social media companies of essentially being a net harm to society, and especially to children, right? Because back then, even kids would smoke. Even today they smoke, but it's a taboo. Back then it wasn't a taboo, is what I'm trying to tell you. And as much as it should have been. Now, when you look at this, see, I'm 31, right? I got social media access first in India in the 2000s, right? 20 years ago. And I got access somewhere around 2006 or 7, I would say, was the first time ever I heard of something called as Orkut, right? And Orkut was actually a Brazilian website. It was one of the world's first viral social media platforms. So what MySpace was in the US, Orkut was in India and Brazil and a lot of other places. I still remember Scraps. Orkut had Scraps. It, I think, even had a mention of a poke. It had communities. It was an incredible world, right? And that was my first interaction with social media. You could meet your friends online, you could chat with them, you could upload photos, you would have your own display pictures. It was very new to me. We were never, at least I was too young to be part of any Yahoo chat rooms or any chat rooms, right? AOL chat rooms or something. I don't remember any of my friends ever being in any chat room, and we were introduced to social networking not via chat rooms but via social media websites. Now those were chat rooms on drugs, honestly, on steroids. And initially there was a lot of reticence from our parents and from a lot of people in society in general that, oh my god, what is happening? What are these kids doing? Where are they at? And we absolutely hated it. At least I hated it. I was not allowed to be on Orkut because apparently there was this very famous case. I don't know if anyone remembers. I won't say the boy's name. I know the boy's name. And he was apparently in touch with a few people on Orkut. And he was a rich boy from a rich family. And apparently he was, he was the victim of a crime, and the people who perpetrated it befriended him on Orkut, right? Very famous case. You can Google it. Mid 2000s. And that was enough of a trigger for my father and my parents in general to be like, you cannot be online. You cannot be. Only way you're online is if you, just go and do some Wikipedia stuff, because by that time, 8th standard, 9th standard, we were being made to, go online and, find reports and everything and just make these digital reports and print them out, of course. The only way to submit them was via printing or a floppy disk, mind you. Now if you don't know what a floppy disk is, I think you should pause this video and not listen to me. You're too young. But coming back, right, I would say these social media websites, right, they were our first entry into the digital world. I loved it. I honestly loved it. And when my parents told me you're not going to use them, I was like, I'm definitely going to use them. Right, I was like, ये तो मैं पक्का करने वाला है. And but I couldn't. We didn't have mobile phones back then. It was much harder. Though, even if we had internet at home, there was no way I was allowed to go on Orkut. If they found out, I was done. So we had to go to cyber cafes to actually access Orkut. And back then in cyber cafes, you could do anything, and by anything I mean anything. Anything would go on over there, my goodness. But yeah, they were pretty popular back then. Now that was my entry to social media, and somehow I always felt, I think I have a connection with this place. And considering the last 15-20 years, yes, I did have a connection to this place. I grew up in a world without social media, like most Gen Z and like most millennials and Gen Xers and some Gen Ys, I would say, I guess. And I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy about it. I know मेरा इसमें कोई achievement नहीं है, but I'm just so glad I'm not, one of those people who are like, what was life before the digital revolution? I know what exactly life was before the digital revolution, right? Sometimes I miss it and then I come back to reality where I was like, no man, life is much better now. Frankly, I would never trade all the digital technology that we have now, to what we had back then. Nostalgia is sweet, but not all sweets are good for you. Just remember that. Coming back, I would say I was, I know the difference, right? But today, when a child actually is born, within the first 6 months, they are online. Not by themselves, of course, but by the parents, right? And by the time they are like 4-5 years old, they're on their parents' phone scrolling through YouTube. How many kids do you know who can't eat food without watching a YouTube video? Whether it is Sasha and the Bear or what, Misha or Masha, and I don't know what it is. Okay, something and the Bear, and then you have of course Coco Melon and all those different things, Chota Beam and all of that. These kids are extremely addicted to. And it's fine, I'm the last person who should be judging anyone about being addicted to anything with a screen on it, right? I will never do that. It would be hypocritical. But coming back, I honestly feel when we got social media, we were at least teenagers, right? Our brains were formed a little. And today, I kind of see it. I kind of see my parents' argument. I guess that's what's called growing up. There is no need for you to be on social media when you're that young. And Pol ke bol is this: I agree with the ban on social media for children. You can't smoke before 18. You can't drink before 18. In most parts of the world. In Maharashtra it's 25, in some parts of India it's 21. It's just ridiculous. But you can't get married before 18. For men, you can't get married before 21. You can't stand for elections before 25. So on and so forth, right? And you realize there's a reason for it, right? You realize there's a reason for it. And the reason is simply saving people from themselves. We are doing a great disservice to our children, to our nieces and nephews, by putting them up on social media. Like upload the pictures and everything, that's fine. They're anyway going to end up in the AI cloud brain, whatever is stealing everyone's data. I'm being very frank. But they should not be having their own social media profiles. There's absolutely no need for it. Their brains get scrambled. It has a very bad impact on their self-esteem. They're always in comparison mode. They're always in show-off mode. They get defensive or they get extremely aggressive because of it. And you will be like, like, what is the research behind this? Please, I'll literally link. Please link in the description. Lots of links in the description. There's this famous study in the US where girls, the instances of self-harm increased in girls with added exposure to social media, right? Online bullying is real. It is even worse for girls, mind you. More than boys, it is worse for girls. Boys get bullied more physically. Women get bullied more emotionally. So the impact of social media on women has been absolutely tragic, especially on young girls, right? Young people should be doing what young people should be doing, not any of this digital nonsense. See, now that I think of it, anyway, you're going to graduate and you're going to end up in some company or whatever you do, you're going to end up on a screen 10 to 12 hours a day. Okay? तुमको, कुछ भी करके झक मार के तुमको बैठना ही है स्क्रीन के सामने. Correct? Then क्यों इतना हीरो बनना है? Go without a digital prison for the first 16 years of your life. It's completely fine. No one in this world, below the age of 18 needs LinkedIn. I'm being very frank. You don't need LinkedIn. You definitely don't need Twitter. Okay? It's not a good place. I assure you, it's not a good place. I got on Twitter when I was 18 years old. I still regret it to this date. Some of my funniest and most exciting days of my life have been spent on Twitter because of it is the best place in the world for news, no doubt about it. But when you're young, that young, 16, 14, 13, 12, there's no place for you to be on Twitter. Just no place. Facebook, Instagram, not good for you. Not good for you. And I'm completely in favor of this ban. Okay? Because simply speaking, what net positive is coming out of getting these kids on social media websites? What are they learning? Honestly, what are they learning? They're learning to compare themselves. They're learning to hate each other. And guess what? It's an unregulated space in a way that they can get in touch with anyone who's elder to them. And I don't want some 35-year-old talking to a 14-year-old. There's no need for it. There's absolutely no need for it, right? Being very frank right now. And there are instances of that happening. Children get preyed upon in those spaces. You'll be like, oh, children get preyed upon in a lot of places. Yeah, our job is to stop all those places. What do you mean? Minimize it. Exterminate it. Keep our kids safe. How difficult is that? How bad is that argument? That's my question to you, right? I think the Australian government, by the way, there is an argument which says the Australian government is doing this because they actually want more of they want a stronger censorship law, which will basically fly against, freedom of expression and speech and everything. So this is the tip of the spear. The actual thing, it's a Trojan horse law. The actual law, what it is going to do is give the government more power over social media companies and force them to identify people who are posting things, right? So tomorrow, imagine you're a dissident against the government can clearly find out, and legally so, who's saying what against them and go and, basically silence them. So that is also another argument. I'm not in favor of that, clearly. Of course, I'm not in favor of that. But what I'm definitely in favor of is treating social media just like any other drug and you regulate it. Just regulate it. I know people who delete Instagram on literally, they delete Instagram on Sunday night, they install it on Friday night, again delete it on Sunday night, because throughout the week, if they have access to it, they know they are just like, they're going to spend 10 hours a day on it, 12 hours a day on it. I know people who spend 10, 12 hours a day on Instagram. If you found anyone spending 10 to 12 hours on anything, either they are a student or they work over there, they're being made to do it against their will, or they're an addict. Okay? And they're not being paid for it, mind you. By the way, they're not being paid for it. Imagine. So this, how is it different from a slot machine? You just go at a casino, button dabao, something comes up. We're acting like, foolish apes on these social media platforms. Let's not do that. Let's respect ourselves and give our children a chance to, how do I say this, build immunity against digital environments. Okay? The world is going to go digital. I get it. Yeah, everything's going to be in the cloud. I understand it. I appreciate it. I look forward to it. But we can stop. We can regulate the exposure. We can definitely regulate the exposure. People are like, oh, people are just gonna lie and be on the internet. Like, browsing is very different from social media presence. It's very different. They won't be posting. If you are not supposed to be online, how are you going to express yourself with photos and pictures and all? Maybe you will be anonymous, but you won't have a digital avatar. Maybe at least it will achieve that, right? Think about it. Because you're essentially outing yourself if you just go online. Like, it takes like one screenshot and one send message. Less than 10 seconds of work for your parents to find out, that, hey, this person is online. As simple as that. Not to forget the screening software that will be used by these social media companies to stay clear from flouting any rules of the host governments. Now, Australia is just like the beginning. I have a very strong feeling it's gonna get worse for these social media companies. Many of them, I see them getting broken up or at least regulated heavily in the next few years. I totally see that coming in the next decade, if not few years actually, in the next decade or so. By the time 2034 comes along, I'm pretty sure we are going to look at social media as, oh my god, I can't believe we used to do that. Like, just like smoking, right? Just like smoking. So yeah, that was my Polkeball on regulating social media usage for kids, especially teenagers. Let me know what you think. Thank you.